Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 14th episode of the Mojoverse podcast. I'm Mo.
And this is Joe.
And on this episode, we're going to be going through a bit of a part 2 from last episode. We're going to be talking about the season finales of a few shows. Also, a couple new shows that we've watched, and also we did see Wonder Woman, so we're going to talk about that. So we just watched the finale episode of Game of Thrones. Joe, what'd you think of that?
There's actually a lot to say about this because throughout the whole season they were just giving us our answers that we've been wanting this whole time, one after the other. So there was something happening every single episode. The last episode, and spoiler warning if you haven't seen it yet, was probably one of my favorites. The best scene that I liked was Littlefinger finally dying. He was stirring the pot way too much.
No, I liked him.
But I didn't really see that coming. A few people theorized what was going on because they were showing how good Arya was at sneaking around, especially with the first episode of that season, actually her finally getting her revenge on the Freys. She's become pretty badass. Just for her to be caught in the end by Littlefinger and to be tricked and to start fighting with her sister, it was pretty believable, the fighting, though. So I'm not sure if that they were putting on a show for Littlefinger just to see what he was going to do, or if they were actually fighting and then, caught on to what he was doing towards the end, because he was no longer being subtle towards the end with hinting towards the sisters should kill each other.
Yeah, I think that it was just they were kind of arguing and then caught on after a while, because there's a few scenes that he wasn't part of that they were just completely for us. It was just the two of them. So I don't know if they were putting it on, they wouldn't have had those conversations. So I think they were actually feeling that, and then after a while, after that last discussion with Sansa, they just realized it, and then they just wanted to put on a bit of a show for him.
But I'm glad the Starks finally get a win for once, because I just wanted to strangle Sansa, because I'm like, has she learned nothing this entire time? Like, she just hasn't grown up. She's being tricked again. And I don't know what happened with Bran. Did he tell them all along what was going on, or did they just put it together at the end and he just felt like giving his 2 cents at the end? Is he finally telling everybody what he knows because he says he knows everything? And then, of course, at the end, when we finally reveal, well, what we've already known, really, but it's more of a confirmation about who Jon really is. And good on Sam for being there at the time and for actually listening to Gilly. He did take credit on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm surprised he even heard her, because he wasn't really paying attention. But at least we can put both of those things together, and I can't wait till he actually tells him. But of course he was getting together with Daenerys during that explanation, which is weird.
Yeah, but that's a bit of a common theme in this show, I think, and why not? But it was nice to see Sam, back there, and just the look on his face when Bran said, "I'm the Three-Eyed Raven." He's like, "Great. Awesome." Yeah. That was a really funny scene with the two of them. I don't know if Bran is really telling them everything. He seems to just be telling them what's convenient, because there's so many times he could have, like, the first thing he could have said was about Jon Snow the second he got to Winterfell.
Yeah, why didn't he send a raven a while ago? He's waiting for him to come back instead, but that would have been helpful information when he was in Dragonstone.
Yeah, so I don't know. It is a good plot device to use. Say, oh yeah, Bran said it. But I don't know. They seem to be not wanting to do that. But in terms of the character, you think he would just say whatever. He would say everything he knows, just trying to tell people, just write it down as best, But he just doesn't. He chooses not to. And he's just off in the corner, just by himself. It's weird.
And I kind of like how in the last few episodes we've gotten pretty much everyone together who were before separate. We were seeing their stories separately. Now they've all come together, and we've seen them interact with each other even after, they were enemies before, but now they're still enemies, but they're sort of friends. They like each other, but they're on separate sides.
That was really funny.
It's really interesting to have them have all these cross conversations, especially the second last episode. I think everybody likes Tormund a lot now. And we're kind of scared for his fate now because we seriously, anybody else could die but him.
Yeah.
And I'd be okay. But that second last episode, though, I would have to say that one was pretty rushed and terrible. There was huge plot holes in that one.
Yeah.
Before, I didn't agree with... There was a lot of talk on the internet about how their time travel was off, how it seemed like people were getting places faster and it didn't make sense in the time, but it could really just be, it could really just be explained away with we're seeing different things happening at the same time and we're skipping the travel part because nobody really wants to see that.
You don't want to watch a TV show that has 6 episodes of a guy walking down the road. So we need to, unless you're doing about 400 episodes per season, because everything's so spread out. So you want to know what's happening. So you don't have to attribute everything into a clear time scale, right? This is what's happening over here. This is what's kind of happening over here. It's more general than anything.
But they kind of ruined that. They kind of got me with that one on the last one because...
Turbo Raven.
Yeah, they were able... I don't know how long it took them to get beyond the wall in the first place, but they were there already surrounded by the White Walkers and the dead, and they were able to send Gendry to run back to the wall, to send a raven, and to get Daenerys to make a decision and fly by dragon all the way back before they got killed.
Yeah, they weren't sitting there on that little island for a week.
No.
So that one was weird. All the other ones, fine, whatever, but this one's a bit of an exception. Like, this is just happened way too quickly. And also what
doesn't hold up with me is how they got the dragon in the first place. Let's not talk about how depressing that was in the first place with
Zombie
Viserion.
dragon.
But he was at the bottom. We don't know how deep that lake is. He was at the bottom. We know the White Walkers and the dead, they can't swim. And where did they get those giant chains? So they somehow had to scuba dive at the bottom to tie the chains around him and then pull him out. So
I think what they could have done was have him just kind of stand on the side of the water. Make Yoda style hand motions and have like zombie dragon just out of the ice. That would have been really
more
neat.
Believable.
Oh yeah, that would have been really cool. But whatever, it was still a neat reveal. Most of us saw it coming a mile away, but it was a neat reveal anyway. So for this episode, we have basically both parties all 3 parties realistically, trying to meet and come to some sort of truce. And Cersei seems legitimately freaked out by seeing that White.
I actually believed her when she said she was gonna finally join them, and there was a bigger problem. I thought the whole, save her unborn child thing would have gotten to her, but
you would assume,
surprised.
But I guess she's just cooking something up. We do see a really interesting scene with her and Jaime that kind of pushes back, but enhances my theory that Jaime is going to be the one to kill Cersei.
Yeah, there is some theories about that because she is supposed to die via little
we were
brother.
kind of hoping that he would do it in King's Landing, but now he's leaving, so maybe they're going to face each other in battle. But one thing that gets me is if they're doing 8 episodes next season, they're going to have to, do 4 episodes for the War in the North, 3 episodes for the War in the South, and then 1 episode as kind of like a cooling off episode. So that's not going to be a lot of time.
No, I can't see how they wrap this up.
So, well.
But they've been speeding everything along. You can tell.
One thing that is interesting though, they've taken the characters and they've focused on the characters that matter and given them a little bit more of a story, right? We're dealing a little bit more with Tommen and Littlefinger and that kind of stuff. But also Theon had a nice moment in this episode too. It was really cool at the end of the episode where you see the army of the dead just come up to the wall, and I said, okay, so they're there.
Destroyed
now.
The wall in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Here came nice zombie dragon, which was breathing ice fire, I guess.
Yeah, we were wondering what was going to happen, if it was going to be fire, if it was going to be ice.
But it seemed to be melting the wall, but it was blue.
We know it's blue, but not sure.
So it was ice fire. But yeah, so wall is gone. So I said right at the end that I'm glad they didn't leave it on a cliffhanger. And it does seem to be a cliffhanger in the large sense of the large story. They're over the wall now. What happens? But I was kind of expecting them to have somebody, in danger, and then cut to black, and they didn't do that, which I really appreciate. So the next finale that we watched was the Orphan Black finale.
That's actually the series finale. So
yes,
now
it's
that
over.
It's finally done, I like how they kept it short because it was getting a little bit long. We didn't get all of our answers though, which is still a little bit frustrating. They didn't answer like what happens to Kira. What is she? She's got powers, so now they're just like whatever.
They've hinted to all these little psychic connections that she's had with everybody, but they never addressed it, and it never paid off at the end. It was very weird.
Yep. Helena finally had her twins, orange and purple.
That's right.
I
think you should number them. Just number them, right?
No, she finally ended up giving them names.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cute. And she ended up being so important, really, because we were all kind of gathering around her. And she shows us her journal, and her journal's called Orphan Black. So
that was both
kind of wink to the title there.
Kind of cheesy, but also it puts the entire series in a different light, where it's not this is what's happening. It's actually a story that Helena was recounting, right? And I'd be curious to go back and watch like the older seasons and just see how that plays, because was it just a little throwaway they think they did at the end, or was that kind of the point all along? It'd be really interesting to check that out.
And I'm glad that they're all going to be able to live now, and they're still looking for the other ones. I didn't know there were that many. They said, 200 something that they still need to find?
Yeah, it was neat to see one of them at the end.
Yeah, they
really
added
cool.
Another one. I think they wanted to add a few, but then changed their mind to do just one, because that would have just been too many things for Tatiana Maslany to learn.
Yeah,
too many set dressings and clothes changing.
She's very good. She could have done it. I think they ran out of budget, maybe, but it might have been a little bit much for her to handle. But she's done a really good job with the clones. Now that we've seen from start to finish, it was a really, really well-acted series. We're going to miss that show. It was really good, but we liked the ending. One thing was a little weird, Sarah shooting Westmoreland like through the plastic, and she just got him, not by like looking. That was a little odd, but
yeah, he was talking.
But he was, I don't know.
I'm really sad that S had to die though,
yeah,
because that was really depressing. I didn't even want the other guy to die. What's his name again? I think he should have just lived happily ever after with Rachel.
Yeah.
Because
that was too bad.
I thought they were a good couple. He could have been redeemed a little bit. He seemed to be going sort of on the right path.
Yeah.
All he cared about
was
having their
sides.
Summer home or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's too bad.
And
Ferdinand.
she wouldn't have been alone. Thank you, Ferdinand.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have been alone. They
established her just
put
by
more
herself.
Focus on that at the end, where they said she wouldn't be welcome with them inside. So
yeah, well, that was too bad.
I felt kind of bad for her.
Yeah, but we're not supposed to. So you've been watching some Wynonna Earp. You were getting into that?
Yes, I talked about that last time. I talked about the first season. I finally finished the second season. That's done now. I'm liking it so much more because the actress who plays Wynonna is really good. Like, at first, I really hated her character, and I think you're kind of supposed to, because her character just doesn't want to have anything to do with anything, and she was kind of like self-pitying herself a little bit too much, and just kind of being annoying and a drunk and
okay.
But then she really
came into her own.
Yeah, she really did the right thing and is now like she's one of my favorite characters. She's really funny. The jokes are getting funnier. It's kind of, I really enjoyed how the actress was actually pregnant, so they just kind of went for it and just had the whole season like centered around her being pregnant. She was pregnant the whole time instead of just doing a time jump and it's like we find out she's pregnant and then the baby's born. She was still fighting and shooting off her gun even though she was pregnant, and they even added pregnant jokes, so I thought that was really different, really nice. Funny.
Have the
She's
writers
like,
thinking,
okay, I'm ready to kick some ass, but first I gotta go pee. That was just hilarious.
Nice.
as much as I was liking her character more and more, I was getting kind of disappointed with Waverly, because Waverly has been like the perfect angel lately that, you know, everybody loves. She's so sweet, can't do anything wrong, except, well, I guess she has to kind of have her downfalls at some point.
You gotta have a flawed character.
I really didn't like it how, you know, she had a moment of weakness where she cheated with Rosita for like a second. They kissed, and that was really depressing, because I really love Waverly and Nicole's relationship, because I just find that it's so realistic and just so well played. They have such good chemistry. And I love how they even made a joke to what people started calling them, and they call them Wave Hot. Put the two names together.
Okay.
So the show kind of caught on to that and said it in the show, so I thought that was funny.
Anything leading into season 3 that you're kind of looking forward to?
Not
really?
Basically, it was really depressing at the end, and if you haven't seen the finale, then, again, spoiler warning, she finally had the baby right in the last episode, and decided to give her away, put her somewhere safe. We finally find out that it's Doc's baby, which makes me really happy. I'm still looking for the catch where it's like they were wrong, and maybe Waverly didn't cross the line properly. Maybe they moved the town sign or something, and they are both revenants. I'm still not convinced, because it's too good to be true. It's what I wanted. But that really emotional scene that they had about having to give her up, and now, you know, she has to finish doing her job, which is getting rid of the revenants, and now Clutie's back. And that little thing they showed us at the end about her mom being alive, that's confusing. I don't know what's going on with that, and that she knew the whole time. So I guess we'll see where that's going and why her mom left. And yeah, I'm looking forward for the next season.
Perfect. So we're a little bit behind, but we did watch the finale of Supernatural as well. We just wanted to give some quick thoughts because it is a little bit older. We're confused as to why Cass doesn't have his powers anymore. It just seems weird. I thought he got them back.
He seemed kind of useless all season
Yeah.
long. Like, they were fighting, and he was fighting worse than they were. And we thought he had some healing powers, but he doesn't use them for some reason.
But he used them
definitely
once.
can't teleport, and he can't do the fry your eyeballs thing.
Yeah, that's too bad. They brought back Lucifer, which...
Getting really tired of him as an enemy. Just
that actor is great, but...
put him in the box, take him out of the box. Put him in the box.
Yeah, I don't like it. Was neat to see a little wrinkle in that dynamic with Crowley's like, oh, I've enchanted your body and that kind of stuff. That was kind of cool.
Kind of a dumb move, but yeah.
Yes, but to see Crowley in that situation was interesting, and then the situation changed, and it was still interesting.
I guess they
but it was
needed
sad.
that to push the new story forward, because now at the end of the last episode there's a Nephilim born.
Yes.
He's already an adult, which is super weird, but I guess they, we can't have Sam and Dean taking care of a baby. I'm sure they're gonna take care of him now. We don't know if he's good or bad. I think they're kind of trying to tell us that he can go either way at this point.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. You play it with the the savior or the destructor of everything, and I'll take that. That's okay. Couple of issues. I don't know about issues, but right at the end, they have like a portal to another dimension. They never really establish where it came from. It just kind of showed up.
We didn't know parallel worlds even existed,
Yeah.
actually, in this universe. So.
Yeah. Well, we saw the crack, and I think you said, "Oh, it's like a rift in time, like in Doctor Who," and then it ended up being exactly that. It was like, whoa, okay. Bobby was back for a couple minutes. That was really cool. And then something happens to Cass and Crowley.
Yeah.
And we're really sad.
We looked into it, and Crowley is definitely gone because the actor tweeted that he's finished with the show. He's sad that it's done, but he's moving on to other things.
But knowing that actor, he's going to be in a couple of nerd franchises from now on.
He's in everything.
Yeah, and he's awesome, too. It was really good.
As for Castiel, the only thing he hinted is that we're not sure if he's quite dead, but he said he's going to come back, but in a different way. So whatever that means, it could either mean he's dead and we're going to see flashbacks, or we're going to see a different version of him, or something, or he is going to be alive, but he's changed a little. I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird because, especially with the vessel being as is, so is
maybe
Misha
he
Collins
was
going to
super
come back?
powered by the baby or something.
Yeah, don't know. There's a lot of things to explain. I'm looking forward to the next season because there's a lot of questions, but I find it's getting a little long. I like shows that kind of do about 5 or 6 seasons. They got their story, their arc, then they're done. This is just going on way too long. I get the impression that they're just kind of just making stuff up at this point. I'm curious to see where it goes, but it just feels like it's a bit much.
It might be more of a season. I think they're going for more of a relationship, exploring people's feelings, emotions, family ties, things like that, rather than the big bad this time.
Yeah. Well,
so that could be a little bit more interesting, a little bit slower pace than we had like 3 different enemies on all sides in this season.
We had King of Hell for the first few seasons, and then we went into Angels, and then Lucifer, and then Leviathans, and then we had the Darkness.
God.
It just feels like So once you do God's Sister and Lucifer, seems to be kind of out of ideas at this point.
How can you go up from there?
And they go Nephilim. So I guess maybe they're going to do that, good or bad or whatever, but that can only hold up for so long. So I don't know. I'm curious, but I don't know.
We'll keep watching.
Yeah. So way back when we watched that movie called Mortal Instruments, we didn't really like it, but you've been watching a lot of the Shadowhunters show.
Yeah, I decided to give it a try. I wasn't a huge fan of the books either, but I heard that the show was a little bit better. I watched season 1 and season 2. They're both on Netflix right now. Season 3 is going to come out soon. It's definitely a lot better than the really crappy movie that came out a few years ago.
The acting does seem better.
And I'm not a fan of the entire second book, which actually did take up a lot of time in this season and this one, because we have Claire and Jace getting together and having a relationship, and then they find out that they're brother and sister, so you kind of think there was incest going on the whole time, and you're a little bit weirded out, and they don't find out that that's not true until way at the very end. So there's quite a few episodes going on. That was kind of hard to watch. I preferred what happened to Simon in the books as well, because Simon, to me, was one of the smarter people in the books and the show. He's the only one who didn't really piss me off. Every other character does, and the actors don't do any favors for the show in this one. I find they're all actually pretty terrible. But Simon was pretty good. In this one, he doesn't, turn into a rat at the party and somehow get captured by vampires and then dies from all the vampires. Instead, he just ends up slowly turning into a vampire, then going back to find out what happened, and then dies from Camille. And Camille wasn't even supposed to be there in the first place. So I find it a little bit weird, a couple of the things that they added and changed. Like the fact that they created this whole new character called Dot. She was supposed to just be a neighbor to Claire, but instead became kind of like her sister that took care of her and spent, her whole life with her. So it was weird to add such a close character like that wasn't really important at all in the books. I did like Jace a lot better in this one, more of a likable character. And I'm actually kind of curious to find out what happens next with Jonathan. I thought it weird for Jonathan as well. They decided to make him he's supposed to actually be pretty good looking with fair skin and black hair, I think, but he decided to take over somebody else's body. And then when he shows his true form, he has like burnt flesh. So all you can see, like you can't see any skin, you just see like a monster. So I guess they just wanted you to see a monster just so you could really understand that he is a monster.
That's weird. That's weird to do that change, though.
That was a pretty huge change, yeah, so I thought that was weird. And I think Claire's mom actually dies a lot sooner than when she was supposed to. But she didn't get the chance to talk to her all that much, which I find is actually pretty important to get the information that you need. And I think she was supposed to find out that a lot sooner that Jace wasn't her son. I guess, when you thought that somebody was dead when they were a baby, you can't really tell if they're your son or not when you see them as a teenager. So I guess I can't completely fault her for that, but I think in the book she didn't make that mistake. So another a new show that I watched on Netflix, there's the entire first season on there. It's called Travelers. I'm pretty happy with that one, and I'm actually excited for the second season. It's going to come out in 2018 on Netflix as well. It's kind of a refreshing supernatural show for a change because it has to do with time travel. So what it is that there's people from the future and they've memorized everything that happens in the past because they're living in a world that's kind of, the apocalypse is happening and the whole world has been ravaged and it's chaos and they don't want to live like that anymore. So they want to change the events in the past that would lead to that kind of future. So they send a team of people to kind of inhabit the body of people in the past who are supposed to die. So they kind of time it out when somebody's time of death is. And seconds after that happens, they just take over the body. I guess they send their mind over, take over that new life, pretend to fit in, and then all the while they have their mission. Well, I guess what we thought was an organization, which turns out to be a computer, like a supercomputer that actually tells them what to do, and they call it the director. And the teams are made up of, I thought it was interesting, there's a medic in the team because they'll need that for their missions. There's a historian, somebody who's charged with memorizing all of the dates and all of the things that, all the tragedies, I guess, that happened.
From a storytelling perspective, it's good to have both of them.
Yeah.
Right? So there's
and then there's a leader, and I'm not really sure what the other two do, but they do have...
They're just there.
I'm sure they have their purposes. I really liked the relationship between Marcy and David. David is the best character, so I really hope that they get back together towards the end. That's something I'm looking forward to. And can't wait for the second season because now there seems to be a struggle between some people finding out about them, that there's actually people coming from the future. They're also fighting a different faction that's split off in the future. Now that they've changed some things in the past, the historians are a bit useless in this scenario because things have changed so much in the future. They don't know what they've changed.
And they're going to be trying to change it too, so that's
weird. They're still trying to change it and still continue to do things because I think it didn't change the way they wanted it to. Now there's a split faction that's kind of against doing what they're doing and trying to stop them, but they're trying to, still make the world a better place, though.
That works. Well, perfect. So we went to the movies and we saw Wonder Woman. I have to say that it was pretty good. Like, I don't know what I was expecting because I'm not really a fan of DC that much.
Well, we don't know her story actually all that much.
But they did. I find that the world they kind of built on the mascara, that was really cool. With the scenery and all that kind of stuff.
I really liked seeing her start off young. I'm glad that they did that.
I don't really like origin stories.
Yeah.
I usually don't, but this one worked.
I liked seeing her on that place, on that island, growing up. It was really interesting. I didn't know it was as supernatural as it was, with the gods and everything. But I was pleasantly surprised. The only thing is that it actually is weird to take her from a place that's supernatural and then to stick her, into the world wars, into the human world. She knows nothing about humans. She doesn't really know anything about anything, actually. So it's like she was very young and new to everything.
Yeah.
But she was still able to, I thought she fought through everything a little bit too quickly and a little bit too easily. I think she should have had a few more struggles than what she did. With all, like, being right in the middle of the war with everybody shooting at her. Like, I know she has those cool cuffs, but
I really
still.
did like that scene, though, when they were in the trench and they were trying to go through to get to that, get to where they were going with the German. But when they were, when they were actually trying to kind of liberate that, the little town, just to see her react to that. Nothing's moved in that area forever, and she really identified with the suffering of the people from that town, the oppression that the Germans were doing, and she reacted to that. I like to see that. She usually just jumped into things, and I didn't really like that. But in that instance, I thought that was really well done. The
whole stay in the car situation. They don't stay in the car.
Yeah.
That can frustrate me. But I like the battle at the end. Mm-hmm. At least that was, a little bit of a challenge.
Having him be Ares was a bit of a... I don't know how to say that. It was just a little bit of a twist, but it seemed to be for a twist's sake. They didn't really explain it really well.
It was kind of weird that it was somebody that you knew just for shock value, when really it could have just been a completely different person that she just found then.
You could have had it not at all and have her really wrestle with that. Not posing as a human, and that was the one that was lacking a little bit. The guy, him flying the plane to get rid of that nerve gas or whatever, was a little predictable, but I found it was handled pretty well.
Well, the fact that he didn't survive after actually is
impressive.
Different for a change. It does make what he did more... It makes more of an impact, because he did actually sacrifice himself. Yeah. So it was sad, but kind of necessary for the story. Yeah.
It finished off his evolution as a character, for sure. But to see him kind of get caught up in what Wonder Woman was saying, like the war, we have to save people, all that kind of stuff, he really got into it. And... To actually, at the end, with the sacrifice, I think that was handled pretty well. I do have to say that. All in all, I thought it was a good movie. There's a few issues, but that we won't dwell on those. It's a good establishment of the character into the DC universe, so then they can do the Justice League properly. Instead of, Batman v Superman should kind of thrown in, but to actually establish that character was really nice, and I think it'll make a better Justice League movie. So, yeah, all in all, I liked it. So that's about all we have to say about our shows and stuff. We are going to keep, watching stuff and giving our opinions in here. You can check it out now on our new website, mojoverse.ca. You can see all the products that we have from the store. It's a pretty cool website. You should check it out. We're really proud of it. You can always send us an email at mojoversesudbury@gmail.com. You can follow us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube at Mojoverse Sudbury. So we'll be back next month with a new episode. Until then, my name is Mo.
And this is Joe.
And thanks for listening to the Mojoverse podcast.